Good morning. Welcome to a short biblical reflection for the Solemnity of Saints Peter and Paul Apostles, based on a letter of St. Paul to Galatians, chapter 2, verses 1 up to 10. Firstly, just briefly about some readings which are selected for this solemnity. There are a special set of readings for the Vigil Mass and then for the Mass during the day. I will not talk about the first readings. I will start with the Gospel for the Vigil. It's from the Gospel according to John chapter 21, well known to us, where Jesus poses triple question to Peter if he loves him. Then the second reading is from the letter of St. Paul to the Galatians, chapter 1, verses 11 up to 20, in which St. Paul talks about his first visit to Jerusalem, where he met St. Peter Cephas and remained with him for 15 days. From among other apostles, he only met James, the brother of the Lord. Why, for the Mass during the day, the Gospel is taken from Matthew chapter 16. It is Peter's confession concerning Jesus, that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of the living God. And then also Jesus answering to him says to him that you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church. Then later Jesus also gives him the keys of the kingdom of heaven. That passage of the Gospel stresses Peter's role and primacy among the apostles. While the second reading is selected from the letter of St. Paul to Timothy, chapter 4, the selected verses, in which St. Paul is aware about the end of his mission and compares his mission to a race which he competed well, and therefore a crown of righteousness awaits him. From all these readings talk separately concerning these two apostles, while the liturgy joins them together because they both died as martyrs in Rome. Only the second reading from the letter to Galatians for the Vigil Mass, chapter 1, mentions that encounter between Paul and Peter in Jerusalem during his first visit. According to me, a nicer reading would be that one from chapter 2 from the letter of St. Paul to the Galatians, where St. Paul describes his second visit in Jerusalem. This is the same story which we read in the Acts of Apostles, chapter 15, about the Jerusalem Synod. St. Paul now in the letter to the Galatians, he is writing it from his own perspective, that after 14 years he went up to Jerusalem with Barnabas, taking Titus with him. And the purpose that he went there to present to them the gospel that he preached to the Gentiles. And in second part, he clearly states about what were considerations during that encounter, that he's supposed to focus on Christians of Gentile origin, of pagan origin, while Peter with other apostles supposed to focus on those of Jewish origin. We read there, when they saw that I had been entrusted with the gospel to the uncircumcised, just as Peter to the circumcised. For the one who work in Peter for an apostolate to the circumcised work also in me for the Gentiles. And when they recognized the grace bestowed upon me, James and Cephas and John, who were reputed to be pillars, gave me and Barnabas the right hand of fellowship, that we should go to the Gentiles, and they to be to the circumcised. In those lines, St. Paul strongly also mentions the unity among him and the other apostles, that they gave him and Barnabas the right hand of fellowship. Now, of course, there is clearly this distinction of mission focus, that St. Peter with others who accompanied him mainly to the Christians of pagan Gentiles, and St. Peter mentioned here as Cephas with other apostles, James and John, to the Christians of Jewish origin. Of course, both groups were also preaching gospel also to the other part, not as it is only here stated, but this is the main purpose. But also that unity is stressed between Saint Paul and Saint Peter here, that in verse 8, where Saint Paul says, the one who work in Peter for an apostolate to the circumcised work also in me for the Gentiles. The one who work is, of course, the Holy Spirit. So the Holy Spirit was working with Saint Peter and was working also with Saint Paul. So that way it unites them very well, and would be, of course, much more suitable reading for this solemnity. I would like to wish you a nice day, a nice reflection for this reading. God bless you.